But I don't really like electric power. Yeah, I don't really either. Alrighty, folks. Welcome back for a special edition on the Bonsai Epic. I bought this a few years ago, and I was running 12S on this. I always wanted to have an electric as my backup, but I realized that this is the wrong boat to make an electric for electric power, because you run this thing and it's like wee, and I'm like, oh, that doesn't sound right. Something's not right. So we are converting this a gas powered behemoth, and so I've got all the fixings, or at least most of them, and so I've been working with Dark Wolf, and he hooked me up with a bunch of goodies. So we've got a 34 modified red line, and we've got a pipe. This is a pipe, I think this is a Vietnam pipe. I got it from Ronnie King on International Waters. So I'm excited to put that in. The other thing I'm gonna do, based on my experience, I feel pretty confident about this, but I'm gonna paint the inside here, because the inside isn't what it really should be. So I'm gonna paint this with a satin black. Modify this for gas, put all the vents in, and run this beast, because this thing deserves to scream with fuel sucking power. So, all right, and we are going to be installing this Speedmaster Stinger into the Bonsai Epic. What I particularly like about this Stinger design is we've got some pretty accessible, easy to access nuts to adjust the length of the Stinger adjustment, and then I think this is a 3mm on top, and so I could be wrong here. I'll confirm with that in a second. Anyways, so I'm gonna blast some just gasket contact inside of the 3 holes. These holes were drilled for the other Stinger I was using when this was electric, and then I'm going to thread lock these T-nuts on, and then these T-nuts are gonna embed inside the backside. So hopefully we got waterproofing and a secure Stinger. All right, so these that came with this Stinger are 7/64, and even this top adjustment is 7/64, which I thought this was the same Stinger as what's on the fountain, and that's a 3mm. So I'm a little confused why that is, because I'd like all the boats to be the same. All right, I'm going to be putting a little bit of gasket in, actually, on the middle of each of these fasteners, and I'm doing that to hopefully seal the holes, because I don't want any leaking. And then once I do that, then I'm going to be securing with the T-nuts with a little bit of thread locker. And I intentionally put the gasket on the middle of the fastener so the T-nut wouldn't be jeopardized or whatever. The threads on the end where the T-nut's going to be touching. So, and I failed to mention that I put a little gasket sealer on the surrounding part of the shaft tube. All right, next we are going to be measuring the prop and the drive dog. We're going to make a little flat spot on the drive dog, on the prop shaft where the drive dog is. This is a beautiful prop. It's a 72/16/3
believe this is from Vietnam, but I got this from Dark Wolf. All right, so we want to leave a couple threads. We're going to put our prop nut in there, but we're just going to mark this with, keep a couple of threads in case we change props. So we're going to mark, we got a spot on the, all right, now we are going to flatten that with a Dremel. And once we have that, then we're going to have our total length. We can measure, this is all the way up, and actually I hand tightened it. So we've got our fixed amount. We're going to mark it here. Once we have this, then we're going to remove this distance off of the other end. All right, so I had marked the one that I just showed you, and I filed it down with a Dremel. I just marked these two to double check my work to make sure that I can in fact line up and measure and install this on the right spot. And then I'm going to put some thread lock on here. Oop, that was a little bit too much. Sometimes that happens. And now I've got kind of I know where I'm putting it. Okay. This is a 1.5. That's a 2. All right, I'm going to tighten this down, and then I'm going to show you how to measure the shaft to cut. Okay, we are in. I got a little mark right there. I know it's in all the way. Okay, we want to be 1/4 inch. So we want to cut off 7 1/4. That's going to leave, better go 7 1/8. Yeah, better go 7 1/8. Okay. Because when we go like this, we've got a few threads. Put that on there. We got a few threads that are threading in. Okay. All right, so we've got 7 1/8. I really don't know what this is all about. Maybe it's a speed bushing. It might be. Okay. So now 7 1/8. Okay, that's the mark. All right, so I've got the shaft cut. Sorry, I didn't video it, but smooth it out, and let's see how it fits. Okay, so it's seated, and there's the gap.
Hey man, what about the pipe? The reefer? No, not that pipe, the other pipe. All right, so I put the exhaust flange on, and we are now ready to start measuring for the hole for this pipe. This pipe I got from Ronnie King on International Waters. I originally had this, well, I actually bought 2 pipes for the fountain, and I wasn't sure which one would fit. Turns out the other one would fit better. So I had this left over. The other one was a Sly Cat. This has a pretty large girth. The cone diameter, let's see, is like 3 inches. Yeah, that's a 3-inch diameter cone. There's no belly band on this, so I think tuning it is going to be, I think, a little bit, well, maybe trickier, but you'll get that peak RPM right where you want it if you can find it on the pipe length. So anyways, all right, so what I'm doing now is I'm finding like the natural like vertical. So it's like, so I'm finding the natural vertical, if it's here, if it's here, if it's here, and then I'm just marking that with a pencil on the transom. So I think, just to give minimal, vertical stress, I guess, on the pipe, that looks pretty good right there. So I'm gonna make a mark right below that. Just with a pencil that you can erase later. So I'm just looking down the pipe here. That looks pretty good. Now, the tricky part. How do you find the hole in the transom? How do you mark the hole in the transom? So, actually what I'm going to do, just to take some ballpark measurements, I'm going to go from the top of this stringer to the center of the exhaust header flange, which appears to be about 1/5. Let's see here. Yeah, 1/5. All right, 1/5, and then 1/5. So it's not rocket science, but I've got this mark right here, this horizontal, and then this is right above the stinger. But oh look, my vertical, that first mark I made on the outside of the boat, is like over here. So I gotta find the crosshairs. So I gotta come over to here and down. So I'm gonna do that. Alright, so there's the crosshairs. So originally I had it right over here, but then finding the vertical location, I had to go scooch it over. And again, with the size of this this hull, I can easily get my trusty Ryobi drill down in there, and then I've got a ream or two. That's what I'm going to use, so stay tuned. All right, so this is my calibrated pipe length measurement tool. It's a wire hanger, and I've marked a few like interesting or like distances of points. So like I think this is 13.75, this is 13, this is like 12.5. So Ronnie suggested I start at 14, which is the left side of this red tape. I don't think I'm going to go any further than that, so that's why I marked that 14. And he said work your way in. Again, as a reminder, shortening, the way I like to remember the inverse out, RPM is a shorter basically word than torque. So the longer it is, the torque is a longer word than RPM. So that's how I remember it. I don't know how you remember it. Let me know in the comments. Anyways, so I have this pipe set up. Right now it's set up to actually 13 3/4. So also I got on
So, well, that puts us, hang on, so that puts us, where the hell is it? Yeah. Okay, so that puts us right around here. So I bought off of McMaster. I bought like a 1-inch tubing. So just as a buffer to hold the pipe in, just because this width is going to change as you tune it. So I put this in to just kind of act as like a buffer between the hole dimension in the transom and this dimension, which is, you know, going to be changing. All right, so that means so I've got this that I'm working with. Oh, and I've got my pipe. I've got my crosshairs marked. I've got my crosshairs marked in the transom, which I think for this size boat, I can actually get a drill bit in here and just start a starter and blast through to the other side. So I can just get a, you know, 1/4 inch. You know, you got enough variance with the diameter. The diameter of this is going to be about 1 inch. So you have about 1 inch of movement. If you don't get it exactly right when you first drill your pilot hole through the transom, you have a little bit of variance. So that's what I'm gonna do. All right. We got our crosshairs marked. I've triple checked this. You know, as important as this is, you know, the diameter of the hole through the transom is going to be about 1 inch. I've got about a 1/4 inch drill bit right here. I've never actually done this like tape with the crosshairs this way. I've always drilled the hole through the transom on the outside, but this Epic is so big. I have the room. So here we go. Actually, I'm going to go backwards first. And a little bit of okay. Next, with the hole, with the pilot hole drilled, I do have my reamer, and so this is a nice way to make a larger hole quickly. I'm gonna go reverse and score it. That way I don't chip the gel coat. Let me just do a little, this is a little bit small, so small of the hole, it looks like it's about a 1/2 inch diameter. Okay. That 1/2 inch, I'm just checking that 1/2 inch mark on the outside of the stringer looks to be in line with the vertical center line of the hole I'm drilling. So the final diameter I'm going to do by hand with a file, and that file is a radius file, and I'm also going to use a round file. So I'm going to use a radius file and a round file to get the final shape of the hole. It goes pretty quick. These are relatively coarse. So let's move on. Now there's a little bit of a diameter change between the inside and outside, but it's not because of the shape of the ream. But I'm not going to worry about that because we're going to be filing it down anyways. Okay. A little bit, I'm not sure if I'm going to be keeping these. I'm probably going to be moving these. Maybe I'll keep them. Who knows? It's a little off, so it doesn't look entirely accurate. So whatever, we'll figure it out. This edge up here and this edge, so really about 1 o'clock and about 6 to 7 o'clock. So this is this is showing up as a little bit, it's like 13 7/8. So I got to go a little bit more, but you can see it's pretty good. Hey man, thanks for checking out this part of the build series. Up next, we've got radio box work and fuel bag and a couple of loose ends, and hopefully we'll be running it. Sweet man, be sure to check it out.